Good morning, friends. I am now live on YouTube, the Animation Truman Show. Yes, it's true. I'm sure you're very disappointed that we did not hear the checking to make sure I'm on the right microphone here. We didn't hear the Animation Truman Show jingle this morning, and I'm sure that represented a severe setback to your day. Apologize for that. I was kind of in a hurry. So let's get right to it, shall we, with a quick recap of what the heck we're doing here. And the answer is, not sure yet. Let me see. Yesterday, I completed this shot and I started this shot, which of course right now is just a still because we don't have the image sequence in there, and there's plenty of pencil test here that still needs to be inked and painted. Well, actually animated and inked and painted in order to complete the animation for Salt and Light episodes 1 and 2, which will give us 48 minutes of a wonderful show for all to enjoy. Other than little fix-ups and whatnot. So that's where we're at today. Is anybody watching? No, nobody's watching. So that's fine. That's fine. You guys will catch up. I think what I'm going to do is, I got a few things I want to talk about this morning, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait a few minutes to delve into some of those thoughts and ideas until some people show up. And in the meantime, what I'll do is just rock and roll on my shadows here for Vespar. And of course, we got to get a background in there as well. And actually, there is one thing I noticed, which is that, quite typical of myself, I forgot his little yellow heebie-jeebies. In case you didn't know, in the ancient world, those little pads on your shoulder are known as heebie-jeebies. So if you didn't know that, now you do. So, I probably should just go ahead and state this, even though there is nobody here, because this is an interesting fact. I have perennially complained about the fact that when you go from using a brush to using the freehand path tool in Krita, that the freehand path tool always defaults at first to curve mode, which means there's a let's see. Murphy's Law says you won't really be able to see it here. But anyway, what happens is there's a smoothing algorithm that takes place. And I always have to switch it to raw. Well, it turns out that if you go into the brush editor, which is F5 in Krita, you can switch. This is if you want to play around with the brush engines. Hey Sifter, if you want to play around with the brush engines in Krita, here's how you do it. It's not actually intuitive. You hit F5 to open up the brush editor, but then you need to hit this little thing here to see the list of brush engines. And all these brush engines have different characteristics that you can play around with. All I did was I took my pencil and switched it to the shape engine. Okay? And then immediately saved it as a new brush preset. Now, happily in Krita 5, generally, there used to be all kinds of bizarre things that would happen when you save new brushes, like if it was based on an existing brush, for example, the original one would completely disappear out of the list and stuff like that. It was insane. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So what I did was I changed my pencil to the shape engine, and as you can see, it effectively solved the problem of just switching brushes instead of switching to the freehand path tool. Kind of solved that problem because it doesn't have any kind of smoothing baked into it. So there is a difficulty with the shape engine in that if you have an overlap, you can see what happens. So you can wind up punching holes in your shape that you didn't intend. But basically, I haven't actually run into that as a problem yet. So I'm going to say tentatively that does not seem to be much of an issue in practice, even though it's kind of a thing. Oh, it sounds like we're into the soundtrack from Healed by Grace 2. Is that right? I believe we are. So, hey, Amar. Okay, so let's rock and roll. In the case of these shadows, this is actually a good case where probably just using Liquify to just mush them around a bit almost makes more sense, because then it's going to retain the general shape. It's less likely to introduce chatter if I use Liquify to adjust the shadows. So here, you could argue this, but basically something like that is really what's probably called for. Okay, and I think in this case, actually, I'm going to go back to this and go ahead and just smack that shadow in like that. And now I'm just going to make little tiny mods to it, and in virtually no time at all, yeah, we've got the shadows for Vespar DUN done. So, here's the thing I was going to talk about this morning, since there are a couple people here now. I watched this video, Dr. Andrew Huberman. So I recommend this video, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Motivation, 2 Hours of Pure Inspiration. This is sort of collected from a number of talks and whatnot. And because of that, there is redundancy in it. I think it looks to me like I got a half hour into it, and it's starting to repeat itself. So, but the big takeaway from this was an interesting thing. In studies of the human brain and the neurotransmitter, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all these sorts of things, the following observation is backed by copious science, which is this. In your goal setting, conventional wisdom teaches us to focus, visualize the positive outcome that we want to achieve, okay, let's say, and to focus on that and let that sort of drive and motivate you and blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out, actually, that it is twice as effective in every arena in which it's been studied. I'm turning the music down a little bit. In every arena which it's been studied, business building, personal relationships, financial goals, it doesn't matter. This is held true, which is that it's actually 100% more effective, twice as effective, 200% I guess you could say, to focus on failure. Actually, what you want to do is you want to really focus on the cost of what's going to go wrong, or what you're going to experience if you quit or if you fail. So that's a surprising finding. And it's a notable finding because it is backed up by science and looking at the brain and the dynamics of how your neurotransmitters actually go into action sequentially, setting you up for neuroplasticity. Focus does not directly invoke neuroplasticity. It sets you up for neuroplasticity. Focus and action sets you up, and then the actual neural growth or new neural pathways and stuff actually happen while you're sleeping. So it's really, really important to get enough rest. Which, by the way, I was in bed for like 12 hours last night because I've been going out and running every other day, and I haven't run in a while. I pump iron all the time, but I'm kind of allowing myself to get my ass kicked a little bit as a runner, and that's been kind of fun. But anyway, it's pooped me out a little bit. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting finding that you may find useful. I kind of ran it by Valerie, and she pointed this out, that one of the reasons this might be true is that when you focus on success, it kind of ill-equips you to deal with the inevitable setbacks and failures. If you're all rah, 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 then what happens when everything goes wrong? You know, and so I thought that was an astute observation. So anyway, do with that what you will. Okay, so right now we have a problem with Vespar, and the problem is, let's see, this would be our color layer. By the way, just for the record, when I did this scene, what I did was, I actually, to do the color, I just actually made a duplicate of the lines. And so the lines are actually baked into the color. I'm like, you know, what does it matter? I won't do the lines in behind mode. I'll just do them in normal mode. And so they'll overlap the lines a little bit so you can still see them there. But again, what's it matter? You've still got the outlines on top. And if I want to, of course, I can now select these and maybe make some judicious adjustments to his outlines, which I usually do. Usually lighten them up to more of a charcoal and then add a tiny bit of red. And then in this case, I'm going to create a filter mask for that so that if I want to change it later, I can. Okay, so now we've got the pencil test, and I don't remember how far I got last night, if I did the ink or not, but basically we've got the shot ready to go ahead and put on a background. So I'm going to hide that layer. In fact, actually, well, I guess I need that around for the heebie-jeebies or whatever it was that I called them. I'm going to go ahead and sample that color. Okay, let's think for a moment about how we want to do this. Let's think. I'm going to do this by actually adding a dummy layer. So I'm going to call this heebie-jeebies. I don't even know if that's what I told you a moment ago they were called. I think I made that up. And now let's look at everywhere where Vespar moves. 1, 2. Now there he's coming back to the same pose. So ostensibly that's just going to be a repeat. We don't need a key there. Actually, we don't need a key through to the end. So it looks like we've got at most 1, 2, 3, probably 4, 5, 6 drawings that need to be done here. Okay. So it looks like I selected that color, but it didn't take. So I'm going to zip way in here, and there we go. Turn that back off. And then I'm actually going to use that shape brush I talked about earlier. Hit the B key, and let's just smack the heebie-jeebie in there like that. Now, as you can see, it really needs to be above the ink lines. So I'm going to do all of the stage right, which of course is Vespar's left. I'm going to do all the stage right heebie-jeebies first. And I am going to duplicate this here because, and I'm going to delete these because actually it makes more sense here to, I'm going to turn on liquify specifically so I can use a really big brush, and it'll cause some natural, just slight variation in the shape here. And that's a good thing. You know, we want to let it flow a little bit. Right there, we got a little bit of a problem we need to patch up. And you'll see in a moment how we'll deal with the outlines. And actually, is that it? Nah, not really. Right there, there's a little change. Okay, so I don't usually do this, but in this case, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go save my work. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into layer style, and I'm just going to add a stroke. And the stroke is going to be either 1 or 2 pixels. I would say probably 1. We'll make this more like 60-65%. That looks pretty good to me. And as you can see, now we have an outline magically and automatically put. And I do see that that should probably be 2 pixels, not 1. So let's make it 2. And I want to check one thing on the settings. Okay, the outline is on the outside. Multiply. I wonder if we can just do normal. Yeah, let's just do normal mode and see what that looks like. So here, And why do, oh, I didn't copy this. I actually just moved it. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to actually do this. Now I'm going to add another layer to the heebie-jeebies. Make it a shadow layer. B key. And I'm going to alpha lock it. And then just turn it down till it feels good. Just like that. And so now it'll only take us a minute or two to go ahead and just give that a little bit of, shall we say, dimensionality. What do we have right there? Oh, okay. Let's insert a key. Whoa, stop everything. Okay, that's interesting. This might be showing us that the, because I am on the shadow layer. So either the buffer's not filling. Ah, that's what it was, the buffer. The buffer. I was going to say maybe the, it could turn out that the layer effects are a bit buggy, and that would not surprise me. And if that turned out to be the case, by the way, I could show, if anyone's interested, there's a way to, if you want to automatically put outlines around a layer that's created with shapes, it's quite a useful technique for many types of animation. Just have the outlines automatically generated for you. There's a way to do it quite effectively without using layer styles. You actually use a couple of filter masks to get the same result. So, and frankly, the filter mask methodology is more controllable anyway, if you really want to get down to it. So that looks good. Everything's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bake this down. I'm going to merge the group, which should bake both the layer style and the shadow into the heebie-jeebie. Okay? So now the only problem is he is lacking heebie-jeebies on the left. Now, is it possible to cheat? Can we cheat? Let's find out. Let's duplicate this layer and then put this layer behind everything. And by the way, what is this? Okay, that's his color, so we really need to label that. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here. I'm sorry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a transform mask to this. I shouldn't actually have to animate it, but let's find out. I'm going to flip it and move it. Oh, that doesn't quite work, does it? Because of the shadow. Of course. Well, yes and no. Let's run with this and see what happens. Okay, yeah, and it does have a little bit of a problem there. So I'm going to just keep running with it because I have an idea that might work. The basic concept here being that maybe this should just be, whoops. I'm going to fill that. And gosh, we probably need to do that in multiply mode. Let's do it in multiply mode. That's a little strong. Just playing around here, folks. Okay, that's okay. Okay, this is probably not going to work unless we add a tint to the whole layer. I'm taking more time trying to save time here. There's no doubt about that. So in case anybody's wondering, it would probably be quite a bit faster just to redraw these guys. But here's actual size. And right there we got an issue, obviously, a positioning issue. A key. We'll smack that back in like that. I really just need to see it around the corner, so that's why I'm thinking that the shadows don't actually matter that much. I'm going to just favor doing it that way. And since that's just a one frame tween, a little bit of weirdness doesn't matter. Okay, so can we just bake this into a color layer? I suppose we probably can. Let's merge this group, and we'll call this Hebe GB left, even though it's it's Vespar's right, but there it is. Okay, so problem solved. We got it in there. All right, now we got to think about the background. Okay, let's take half a second and see what's going on in the chat. Mortality is one hell of a motivator. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, to a degree. That's certainly focusing on what's going to go wrong. You're going to die, right? Think of how people of similar backgrounds took two different paths, but he had different motivations, was more driven. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the Vic Navone video. He, as I recall, wound up at Pixar back in the early days. And by the way, I can see here, it's a good thing I didn't bake this down, because looky here. That is wrong with a capital WR. Okay, cool. Background time. Let's see what's going on. And I suppose we can probably turn the music back up a bit. I'll tell you, I am going to actually go back to... There was a shot way back when. Way back when. Yes, there it is. Let's see what this was. Okay, yes. That was the background. Well, I'm going to say that we're fudging a bit with people's perception and memory here in terms of what they're going to remember from previous shots, which we have a lot of latitude in that regard, by the way. So I'm going to say that the background on 599, let's come back over to here. That background was, I think that was it. I think that's it right there. I sort of just stumbled on it. Look how ugly that is. Well, that's okay. Ugly, we don't mind. When we drag it into Krita, we obviously have the ability to instantly make some amendments and fixes, and that's by gum just what we'll do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is simply isolate the layer. I can tell this was done with the oil paintbrush, so this was originally painted in Tahoma. That is quite obvious. So, actually, let's hit the brush engine here, and we want our oil paintbrush. Okay. And we're just going to do some scribbling, friends. Just do some scribbling. It's a background painting, and it's going to be ostensibly a little out of focus, so we don't have to knock ourselves out here too much. Right now in the background, yeah, what we're hearing right now is the music from the last movie I made, which was Healed by Grace 2. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I actually think it's a wonderful thing when you've done so much of some type of creative work that you literally can't remember that you did something. Like I'll hear a piece of music and go, "Oh, it's a pretty good piece of music," and then remember that it's mine. You know, that sort of thing. That's always fun. That's really what we want to do. We want to be producing so much and just enjoying that ride that nothing specific is actually that precious. Nothing's precious, friends. None of it matters. And the more you do, the better you get. You'll gain distinctions in your mind. You'll make better judgments going forward. You make fewer mistakes, blah, blah, blah. All right. So now, I'm going to say, let's try this as a little experiment. I'm going to go to my brush engine. I'm going to pull up my nasty, nasty, nasty Q-tip. This Q-tip is powerful, I tell you. This is like the most bombastic blur engine ever. So we want to turn the opacity like way down. See that? Look how quickly that it's blurring things. I'm not even sure I like that, to tell you the truth. I think I'm going to rethink that. Let's actually bring the size down, because I don't really want to blur those bamboo posts. I'm really just wanting to kind of blur the color blend here. That's all I wanted to do. Now you say, well, wait a second, Dave, what about this one in the middle? Well, okay. Simple. Let's do a rectangular selection of this one. Control C, then Control Shift V, which is a hotkey you'll have to set up yourself, by the way. It's not a default in Krita. But that's the paste into active layer. And then if we wanted to, we could actually fix this up like so by putting there. So what I'm going to do, watch this. I'm actually going to go Control X, Control V, so that I put it in a separate layer for the moment. So why did I do that? So that I can now take I can go ahead and fix up this, what's behind it, like so. Just kind of figuring there's a bit of shadow action behind it, right? Okay, and then I'm gonna hit that, so that's my blur brush again. So there, whoop, just blur, blur, blur. And now we can take this and Control E, bake it down. And of course, as you can see, we never actually see it. Now, you're seeing this distortion here, or this anomaly, and that's because Vespar is not in a group, so the alpha locking on the shadow was broken there for half a second. Okay, what if you wanted to have a cast shadow? Okay, it's kind of an interesting question here. Let me see what this is. Okay, this is nothing. So here's what I'm going to do. Watch this. I'm going to go ahead and in the background, I'm going to select this sky. Okay? Control X, Control V. So now what I'm going to do is put that behind. Okay? Hit the G key to group the background. Now, we'll see how well this works. I'm going to duplicate Vespar. Absolutely save my work immediately. And then this Vespar copy group, I'm going to merge it. So just wait. Okay, there it's merged. Now what I'm going to do is take this down here and put it into the background. Okay? All right. And so now we can turn this off. As you can see, this is our official Vespar group that has all the different layers. And so let's not be stupid. Let's name that. Turn it off. And now here's the copy. The copy is nothing more than a flat group of keyframes. So I'm going to hit Control M and I'm going to make this black. Boom. Mistake. Can't have a selection because we're trying to affect this whole layer. Sorry. Okay. Boom. And we're going to do multi-frame, so it's going to go ahead and blacken all of the frames. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take the background, not the sky behind it, but the background in front, and I'm going to make that a group within a group so that we can actually have alpha locking. And then this is going to be alpha locked. Why? Well, that means, see what happens when I move it over here like that? Cool, that's what we want. So now I'm going to do the same thing I did a moment ago. I'm going to do a multi-frame filter on the shadow. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. This is going to be fairly, and I'm going to unlock this actually and make the vertical radius stronger than the horizontal, like that. Okay? Multi-frame. So now all of the layers have been likewise filtered. Again, I can't emphasize enough, save your work. Now, the shadow layer, I'm going to add a transform mask. I'm not going to do any animation of it. I'm just going to add it in there so I can do something like this. Okay? Now you can see this problem at the top. We'll deal with that with a blur. And in point of fact, it may turn out that it doesn't matter. But I'm going to put Vespar back in. Okay, yes. So angling the transform mask that much was a bad idea. So I'm basically going to put it something like that. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and flatten this layer. So I'm going to bake the transform mask into it. That should take a little bit of time. What I've been finding is if you merge a group that's got transform masks baked into it and maybe a bunch of layers, it may take as much as 30 seconds for the merging to complete. So be prepared for that. Okay, so now in this case we do have a bit of a problem because of this thing at the tippy top. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it the hard way. Whoops, I'm going to, sorry, grab my filter brush and I'm just going to paint it out. Seems to be about, it says scrub, 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 scrub. And if we find any chatter in there, we'll just maybe eliminate some keyframes. But there you go. Instant shadow. Looks good. Feels good. And it just gives the, gives the shot a little bit of extra character, if you will. Now, in this case, honestly, I'm feeling like I want a general cast shadow. Yeah, I want something over Vespar in general, so I'm actually going to do what I usually call SHD2, a shadow 2 layer. Hit the B key, and actually that's not the right brush. We want this one, which is our shape brush. And I'm just going to go like this. Alpha lock it. Just a little bit like that, and frankly we probably could blur it a bit. And now let's just kind of zoom in and hit Control F a few times to get that shadow dialed into where we want it. Okay, and so now we shouldn't have to animate that. That's just a cast shadow, and so he's literally going to slide out from underneath it, right? Okay, so that's that. Okay, so you're added to Discord. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I think I saw the Victor Navone video. Now that you kind of mentioned it, it's coming back to me. It seems like I saw it like years ago. But anyway, here we go. Control R. This is shot number 651. Delete 1. 651 period. Should be pings. Let that baby render, and now we'll switch over to the show. Let Vegas wake up while I take a drink of my tasty beverage. And now we will find Vespar. There he is. We'll slide those guys downstream. Boom. Project media. We're going to import 651. 651. There you are. Render 29 frames at 8 frames per second. 651. There you are. Smack it in there. Turn off the resampling. And now we can delete the still image from the storyboard, save our work, and kind of see how things are flowing from the shot we did yesterday. I like it. You know, I have no complaints. I would say, actually, I think the cast shadow should be slightly darker. Something more like that. So I'm not going to bother to jump back to the video edit. Just suffice to say that after rendering this, the video edit will update automatically. And so that is now saved as 651.ping.cra, and we are done with that. So come back here. Again, I'm not even going to show you the screen. It doesn't matter. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. Create a new shot and paste it in. So this is what happens next. Here you got Vespar over here looking nonplussed. It looks like Vespigi walks into the scene, steps forward, I should say. And Golek is encouraging, he's getting the crowd riled up to go ahead and encourage Vespar to come out and say a few words, as they say. So there's that. Okay, so Alt M, Control M, crank the alpha, get some contrast there. Fine. It's already got 2 layers, so we should be able to save this as 652-652.ping, and then Krita should ask us if we also want to save it as a Krita file, so we did. All right, let's take a moment and think about this. The next shot after this one, I believe, is, I don't think we see, okay, actually, yes. The next shot is this, so it actually cuts over to the other side of Vespar. We see Golek and Vespigi in the background, and so Vespar begins to sort of rise to the moment and puts his hands up to calm down the crowd. So, okay. So here, I would say let's pop this down a bit and move this back up. And now what we want to do is think about our strategy. Okay, let's go to standard pencil. Let's get our red pencil working here. So we're switching between red and black. Number one, Vespar is a static image in this shot, and I am pretty darn sure there's another completely unrelated shot from a different place in the show where he's standing there in like exactly that pose right there. So for that reason, I'm not going to do anything with Vespar because I suspect he's going to be able to be stolen from another shot. Now, Vespigi, again, you guys can't see it, but on the other screen, I'm scrolling through to find out if there's any instances of Vespigi that are essentially this shot that could potentially be reused. And I would say yes, 636, which I don't know if that's a Krita or a Tahoma, so let's find out. Looks like it's a Krita. Okay. Now in this shot, all he does is move forward, so I am going to go copy this layer and I'm going to paste this layer into this scene. Okay. I mean, you guys will agree that it's not exactly the same, but it's mighty close. And frankly, we could patch his head. We could patch his head, or we could patch his body. But let's just ask ourselves, what do we like better? If Golek is standing there saying, you know, speech, I actually think we can use this at size. I have to say. Let me look at all these layers. These layers do not have Well, actually, this is the only one that doesn't have a keyframe. But frankly, I'm thinking maybe I'd like to do a little liquefy on him. So what I'm thinking is, let's go ahead and add a transform mask and just do this way. Let's just get him into the shot this way. So I'm going to take, this is his landing position, right? And it looks like there's some animation baked in as well. So okay, I want to scale this up a little bit. And I want this more like here. Also scaled up slightly. And then we can always delete the animation keyframes if that's not appropriate to what we're trying to do for this shot. So I'm going to go ahead and save my work. So, I mean, again, it's not like exactly the same pose that was in the storyboard, but come on, why are we going to completely redo him for no good reason? That's stupid. So 8 frames per second. And ultimately, this scene probably is going to be about, I don't know, let's just go with 48 for lack of a better idea. Okay, this is the kind of thing that when I see this, the fact that he's got the lip sync baked in makes me think, geez, maybe I want to introduce a line of dialogue for Vespigi. Okay. We'll come back to that though. Okay, so now let's turn the transform mask off, because what we want to think about now is what might happen with his I actually like, by the way, the fact that he's stepping out of the shadow is kind of cool. But in the actual keyframes, it's happening immediately, so I'm not sure that actually that's probably not a great thing. So frankly, let's correct that right now. So I can make any changes I want within the animated keyframes, and then of course those changes will propagate quite nicely once I turn the transform mask back on. So I just turn this back on, and now all of a sudden he's doing it while walking into the scene, right? So I've been finding this is a really good workflow. If you're going to use the transform mask in Credo, what you want to do is kind of map out what you want to do with them, and then do the stuff that happens within the animation with the transform mask turned off. And you know, so you have to be thinking about how the animation flows relative to the larger transformation that the whole group might be having. Now, one thing I do want to say here is that this is really where I want Vespigi to be, not here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make here's how I fix that. I'm going to just add a dummy layer that shows this contour. Okay? So now that's just a dummy layer I'm going to delete here in a moment. All right, and now I'm going to go to Vespigi, back to here, and this may not work by the, well, actually this will work. I was going to say it might not work because part of his body is going to be cut off. Up, stop everything. This needs to be outside the group. Okay, now if we take the group with Vespigi and just put him here, now all of his keyframes are all in the same basic place, and the transform mask will still do its job just fine. See? Perfect. So now we can delete the dummy layer, no longer needed, and turn off the transform mask, because transform masks are buggy and they are crash prone, so why give yourself problems for no good reason? Okay, so now what I want to do is modify Vespigi's demeanor a bit. I want to soften it a little bit with some liquefy. So let me look at, essentially we've only got yeah, actually this is ink and paint. That's good. That's actually helpful in this case. The ink and paint layer is really the one we want to maybe modify. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just start having a little bit of fun with this one. It's a little bit strong. Okay, and I don't mind that because he does walk into the scene. Okay, now this is going to be tricky. I just want to soften his whole attitude a bit. So we're not modifying the mouth layer or any of that. Okay, so now that feels like that was too extreme of a change. So I'm going to tease that just a little bit with another keyframe in front of it. Obviously, you know, this could be redrawn, but I'm just going to do it the way I'm going to do it at this point. Okay, and now this is just an experiment. What if his entire, actually, what if his entire, sorry. Okay, I keep hitting the wrong thing. What if his entire countenance was lifted just a little bit? I like that. So that's going to put the mouth in the wrong position. Oh, stop. Got to be on the mouth layer only. Okay. Save our work and back the heck up and see what we have here. Okay, and we can always add lip sync later if we want to mod the the dialogue a bit in order to sort of take advantage of, you know, this good looking shot of Vespigi that we have in the foreground, right? But that worked. That worked. As far as I'm concerned, Vespigi's looking good. I'm actually going to lock him. We'll come back to him because we may wind up massaging the timing a little bit. In fact, if we're going to lock that, let's duplicate it, turn this off, and let's do a merge group, and we'll see how long it takes. 1, 2, 3. Wow, that was quick. Okay, I did not expect that. Okay, that was quicker than I expected. But there we go. So now we actually have a baked copy of Vespigi, and we're done with Vespigi. Okay? What is this? This is the, we'll call this the storyboard shot. Okay, so now we need, let's see if we can find that shot of Vespigi. I know exactly the shot I'm looking for, and I'm pretty sure it was a Krita shot. So, jump back over to here. Okay. So again, no disparaging the value of drawing and doing things from scratch. It's a beautiful thing, but if you have the shots right there waiting to be reused, why be stupid? You know, when you're trying to create hours and hours and hours of show. Right there it is. Look at that, 621, perfect. Okay, so let's open up 621. Go back over here. 621.ping.cra. This is going to be perfect. Okay, here's Vespar. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to copy the layer, go back to here, go back up to the top, and, well, actually, I should be at the bottom. Let's paste the layer. Okay. It looks like he's already been merged. So now what we're going to do, let me see if there's any animation in Vespar. I think there is. Yes. And let's turn Vespigi off so we can see what we've got. Okay. I'm going to say the likelihood is high that we can kill the mouth. Let's look at this. Okay, yes. We got the eye blinks. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab all this. And by the way, what I just did, that's the first time I've seen that work in Krita 5. So 5.0.6 seems to have corrected the issue of grab a frame and then go somewhere else and grab another frame with shift, and it selects everything in between, which is obviously what you would always expect to have happen. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to mirror these frames. So we want these frames to run in reverse. Okay, with the caveat that this should not be there. This should. And then this should happen much sooner. What is this? Okay, that's a duplicate, so we'll get rid of that. And then, all right, so now, ostensibly, this is going to be really, and so we'll get rid of the mouth. We don't need it in there. Let's add a transform mask to him so we can put him where he needs to be. A key. So he's going to be there, and then obviously we're going to have to do a little patching on top of it, but that's fine. Save our work. And if we turn this back on, okay, Vespar should not be starting with a blink. Okay, it looks like that was a buffer issue. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this really needs to happen after. Whatever Vespigi says is obviously calculated to... Yeah, okay. So what's in the script is that Golek is calling for Vespar to speak. Is there any reason why we can't have Vespigi call for Vespar to speak while Golek is just saying yes, yes? You know, he's basically clapping his hands and nodding. Why not, right? What does it matter which one of them says the line of dialogue, right? So that's fine. So we're getting some creativity out of our sort of reuse here. Okay, couple things I want to fix on Vespar, however. Let's look real close. This this business here, is this our brush? I do not like that, and he looks a little cross-eyed to me. So I'm going to punch up his pupils just a bit. Let's turn Vespigi off so we're not distracted with it. And then let's just go in and do a little touch-up, right? No problem. Yep, this really needs to be a little more wide-eyed. A little more, oh my God, I have to go out and talk to the whole, you know, nation. Okay, just a little fix up there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I would say probably that could just a little kiss there. Turn that back on. And now what we need to do is add a completely separate layer. And let's take this brush right here, which is our shape brush. And here we're just gonna, okay, what's going on? Why aren't we seeing anything? We are. But we're not seeing it when, oh, the transform mask. Okay, yes. Okay, so this is an interesting thing to note. If you have a transform mask acting on a group, then it's, if you're going to do what I'm doing right here, where you're adding a patch over top of it, it's important that the patch not be in the group, right? Otherwise, the transform mask is acting on the patch, and the patch is being moved to somewhere that it's not supposed to be. Make sense? So it's one of those things you wouldn't think about it until you think about it, you know? And then you go, oh, duh, how obvious. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my brush and just kind of punch that up a little bit, and I can see, because there is a gradient essentially acting on this, the colors are a little bit off. So we'll fix that here in half a second. We will fix that. Okay, so here I'm going to come back to, I mean, I guess I could use this. Let's see what happens if we put the patch actually on top, not on the bottom. That really does make more sense. Okay, now we can actually do some smoothing out here and all in here. This is just a real gentle blurring essentially of it. So there we go. So Vespar's done, right? With the caveat that now all of this really needs to be a group within a group. Okay, so this is the patch. Cool. Cool beans. So there's that. There's that. And yeah, I mean, in 1 hour we've got we've completed the one shot, and we've got another shot kind of sort of half done, so that's good. Now we got to deal with Golik. Okay, obvious question, got to ask it, is do we once again have something from another shot that can be reused? There's been so darn much Golik lately that I got to believe there probably is. So I'm just looking for something that's kind of sort of similar to what we're seeing there. Even if it's just a static pose that gets us started. Something like that would actually be sort of actually workable if he was on a different angle than he is. Up. There it is. That's it. That shot right there, 601. We'll just redo his arms. So file, open. Not sure if this is a Krita. This is not a Krita. This is a Tahoma. So that means, gosh, if I wanted to use it, I'd really have to lift it from the smart raster level, which is always a bit painful. So forget it. So let's just do it the hard way. Onward and upward. So this is going to be, this is the background drawing. Let's do this. Let's switch to our pencil and then switch to our eraser so we can start. Okay, are we on the wrong layer? Yes. What is this background layer? What the heck is this? I don't even know what that is. So, storyboard. So we don't need him in there. We do not need him in there. We do not need him in there. What we do need, and we need to get rid of that stupid looking hat that we know is wrong. All right, and then we need to switch back to our pencil and make sure we got our colors working here correctly. Slight convex curvature on that. We need to get his ears in there. This is obviously a pretty wide shot of of Golik. Ooh, I like this piece of music. I think this is from one of the scenes where it was like a montage, I think. A horse riding montage thing. Nice waltz. little key change there. You know, that movie was just like everything else, where it took a while to find what the movie wanted, you know, in terms of the score. But once I found it, it was pretty easy. It just took a while to dial that in. Okay, so now the question becomes, can this be handled like so? I'm just trying to be as pragmatic as possible here. If you took this hand and you said, okay, just moving it in real time, is it convincing that yes, that would work? Okay, I say absolutely, that would work. Okay, let's do the same thing here. A key, put that, anchor it on his elbow, and now just, does that work? Absolutely. So that means what we really have here is a static drawing of Golek, where we've got these two elements that need to be drawn, or animated, I should say, and they basically only need 2 keyframes, and they only need 1 drawing. So this is a 1 drawing animation. It's truly a 1 drawing animation. So what I'm going to do is put this in a group and call the group Golek. Okay, we know from the storyboard now what we're trying to do, so let's just get in and get the ink done. Turn off the selection, by the way. So B key, we do not want the eraser, and we can turn this down, I suppose, something like that. I don't want Golek to look too angry with his little angry eyes, even though he tends to look that way most of the time. This is a moment, he's a little bit enthused that this is going to kind of go his way at the moment. So we'll almost make Golek looking cheerful-ish. Hence his goatee is going to be trending upward a bit. Okay, so we'll get Golek blocked in. And then, as I said, the animation part of this is going to be stupidly simple. And this is why I'm showing this, because especially if you're doing something that's large scale, golly, you know, you've got to take half a second and think about what is it I'm really trying to achieve from a storytelling standpoint in this shot, and can it be done, you know, how can I do it reasonably economically that doesn't harm the storytelling? If it's going to harm the storytelling, then you want to do it the hard way. But if it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, you know what I'm saying, friends? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. This, I've been kind of saying, let's do the Bezier curve tool in this. So boom, boom. Boom, boom. Hit the brush to patch it up. There's the jewel. That's a little large, actually. To be fair, the jewel has drifted. Okay, the size of the jewel throughout the show has drifted a bit. Okay, so now another thing I'm noticing right now is that this is really too freaking tall. So let's see if we can fix that pretty easily this way. Okay, I would say that's not bad, although I now want to do a little bit of liquefy to rein that in a little bit. Okay, and then down here, as you can see, because we have it in a selection, it's not damaging the rest of the drawing, which is quite useful. Boom, Control-Shift-A, so there's nothing selected, and now B key, we are back to drawing again. Okay, I'm not going to give any consideration to the arms right now, because they're going to be covering up, they're going to be in front. So all we want to do is get the body weight and positioning basically correct. Save that, save our work, save early, save often, boom. This is going to come up to just delineating where the forearms are, more or less. There's his I don't know what you call them, tassels, I guess. That's yellow right there. This is going to be just a shape. I'm not going to actually draw that shape in there. B key, I would say, so this tassel can just be in front. We don't need to worry about the arm, because the arms are going to be in front anyway. And this arm, I guess we'll say, let me look at this. Okay, he's a little bit, I mean, pretty obviously he's kind of leaning backwards too much. I wanted his body weight to be basically kind of leaning back like this, you know, like if you're clapping kind of thing. But I also don't like that. Let's just erase more of that so it's not distracting me. That sucked to high heaven, and it just basically had nothing to do with how well I draw. It had to do with the fact that you put the stylus down and the line doesn't appear exactly in the place where you put the stylus. Well, what are you gonna do? It's the price you pay for being able to use a stylus, I guess. Okay, that's better. N key, so that's actual size. I'm going to take the liberty of tamping down the size on this a little bit, this forearm. And I'm trying to draw I'm trying to draw the lines way too carefully from too far zoomed out, and they look stupid, so a lot of shaking, and so that's why I'm zooming in so I can actually have the lines not be completely idiotic looking. Okay, this is going to be our anchor point right here. So essentially that's going to be filled in with solid color. We'll deal with how that overlaps the upper arms later. It doesn't matter. We'll get them in place and then see what's missing in terms of what needs to be patched to close the gap between the forearms and the upper arms. That's all. Okay, that works. This is going to be kind of the same concept here. I'm being careful to make sure the scale of the hands is relatively similar. Okay, that's a bit extreme. Looks more like a butt than a hand. If you listen closely, in this music, I actually quoted Pocahontas. Go back just a little bit. See, should I marry Coco? Just for fun, for no apparent reason, I quoted that melody, and then I just kind of spawned off from it and took it in a different direction. So just kind of thought that was a little bit funny. The things we do as composers. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Well, it brings to mind a quote. I can't remember who the composer was now, but there was some composer. It was maybe a Broadway thing or something, and he had a really massive job to do, and the critic or the interviewer or whatever says to him something like, "Won't that take a lot out of you?" And his answer was, "It's going to take a hell of a lot more out of Beethoven and Mendelssohn and, you know, et cetera, et cetera." Okay. So the main thing I'm totally not going to worry about at all is this upper arm. I'll figure that upper arm out after we get this kind of happening. Okay, so we need some color. Let's grab this one. I'm over on the storyboard. Trying to find a likely Golek. Probably, actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try to, because the colors maybe have drifted a bit, in part for good reason, because you're in different lighting conditions, but I do want to kind of I want to steal a Golek from a recent shot so that the colors match. So there you go. So there's your color key. Okay, I'll start out with his face. Again, here, look, it's one frame. We're gonna start breaking it up shortly, but for now, I'm gonna grab this and actually use my shape brush. Okay, and then of course that needs to be underneath. Duh. Okay, and now we can probably fill the rest. Go back to our color key, grab Golek's hair. Just a little tiny smidgen there. And by the way, little patch there, little patch there. Okay, back to our color key. We don't want the color that is currently hidden in shadow, by the way. Fill tool. Okay, go back to our brush and again, just patch that. Good, good, good. Boom. And let's see what happens. That's about right, actually. Excellent. Patch that, patch that. Okay, so now that yellow is lost a bit in shadow, so I'm gonna just take some liberties here and assume I can probably eyeball it pretty good. That does look about right, actually. So no complaints on that. What about his hat? Well, we want that color. Fill tool, and then we want the yellow. Here, G key, let's put it in behind mode so that we can just do a lasso fix. Okay, and now what we want to do is grab this color and create a border here in the color layer so that we can then fill it. Same thing over here. Let's create a border, fill it. Little patchy poo there, yellow. Boom, boom, flesh tone, boom, boom. Okay, so now we have everything we need to be able to animate this. All right. We're gonna need shadows, so let's think about this for half a second before we go too crazy. I would say if we get the shadows right, we should be able to bake them in and we'll be pretty safe. So I'm gonna say let's go ahead and do that, and we will do the animation on a baked layer. So B key, And this obviously should be alpha locked. Okay, now I want to think about this for a minute. If we I'm thinking about whether having the shadows baked in is going to actually create a problem later. It's one of those things you want to be cognizant of. Okay, for now, I am going to go ahead and merge the group and then lock this one down and just kind of let's see how it goes. Okay, so we'll call this animated Golek. Okay, having done this, S key, Control X, Control V, go back to Golek again, S key, Control X, Control V. Okay, so now the hands are both in their own layers. Control Insert, Control Insert. They each need to have an animation keyframe. Although, frankly, probably doing it with transform masks makes more sense because it is a repetitive motion. Well, let's just play with it. Can't hurt to try. A key. So we're going to say here's where his hand is. So there's what I was talking about. You see that right there? Okay, that's going to be easy to fix. And I want to anchor this on his elbow. So there's that. Let's keep moving forward. So this is going to be a transform mask here. A key. Anchor it there. Again, we'll put an animation keyframe at the beginning. And the idea, that's pretty much the idea. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go here. We're going to duplicate this. Control C. Control V. Okay, stop. Undo. Not sure what just happened. So I'm going to save my work because, again, transform masks are absolutely buggy as a anthill at a picnic. And so why be stupid? And Krita just blew up. I knew it. The way the transform mask was behaving right there was screaming, look for a crash. I guess I'm becoming more vigilant about sensing when a crash is around the corner. And I'm going to go back and refer to this. Okay, so this is 652. Hello, let's just try that again. Minus 652. Boom. And it looks like we didn't lose any work. So that's good. All right, a couple things to note. Obviously, look at that. All right, so right here we have a problem. So I'm going to hit the behind mode. And I do want to grab that brush, the lasso brush. And stop. When I changed brushes, it also changed the blending mode, which of course is sometimes desirable, sometimes not, so you can't really complain too much. Okay, let's turn these guys back on and just get busy with the animation part of it. So we've got a key, and what I did before was I dragged the key, copied it. We are at 8 frames per second, so I'm going to assume we probably let's look at the pace of this. Yeah, that works. 1, 2, 3, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have another cycle of it over here. Almost like he pauses and then starts clapping again. We do not want that tween there. So let's clap, clap, clap. All right, and I reserve the right to change that, but this needs to be pinned to the timeline so that I can see those keys. And now we're just doing the same thing again. Boom. And we'll grab that whole cycle, smack it to there, and then duplicate this keyframe. Stop, Krita, you stupid thing. Krita basically got, you know, smarter than me and decided I must have wanted to select the whole column. No, Krita, that's not what I wanted to do. Thank you very much. Okay, frankly, I'm gonna say I don't really like the pause. I am actually going to assume that what we really want here is for this to just kind of keep going. Blah, blah, blah. Let's try that. See how it feels with everything else in place. Let's add Vespar into the scene. Let's add let's add Vespigi baked into the scene and see how things feel. I'm not sure that I'm buying the clapping, but I've had other things that were questionable in the past that I go in and fix eventually. So I'm just gonna not worry too much about it. I'm gonna say, and by the way, I want Golik pinned to the timeline. What I'm gonna do here is grab this color. Hello? It's in freaking behind mode. Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted. Okay, and then also here I'm going to say, okay, we have to turn the transform mask off, and let's solo the layer. This shadow bit here needs to be extended like that so that it matches. Okay, that's pretty good. You know, and honestly, this whole shot is going to be 32 frames long. I think we're okay. We're actually probably going to have a slow camera push in during it. And I think in the script, I'm just going to change the script so that it says, so that Vespigi says, let the prince speak. Previously it had Golik saying, speak, speak, prince. So what's the difference, right? It's actually better if his father, reinforces what Golik is setting up, then he really has no right to refuse, right? So it makes more sense. So this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Honestly, should probably just keep continuing through the end of the shot. Transform mask. And this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now let's check this. Just making sure I didn't get these out of sync. I don't think I did. Ah! Krita just blew up again. Oh, so annoying. So annoying. Why is it annoying? It's annoying because why the hell do you release software that touts a new feature as being the most... Oh, I mean, we should all be having orgasms over this feature, but it's so freaking buggy that only a 14-year-old would be stupid enough to release it in the buggy form. But there it is. It's what we have. So that probably just cost me a bunch of work. And it did. And with that, I'm quitting. I'm going to take a break. I've been going for an hour and a half, and I'm not going to sit and fight with Krita and be annoyed by her, he, she, it. I'd rather just take a break, catch a breather, because that is so annoying that it's indescribable. So with that, I'm going to take a break. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I'll probably be back later. We'll see. Maybe, maybe not. And I will definitely get this shot done today, and it will be good. So with that, I will say, guys, there will be more